All right, awesome. Well, I am here with Johnny from Highly Suspects. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm curious. So obviously, you guys are going to be closing Stage 5 tonight. Obviously, closing up against Korn and Billy Corgan. How have the crowds been? I'm always curious about like the sides.
Thin.
I can imagine.
I mean, compared to Korn.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Korn being headliner and stuff, but yeah, like still, it's cool to see like people coming out and checking you guys out. And
What
stuff.
I do know is that the people that are there are 100% all in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in order to, if you're gonna miss Korn and Billy Corgan, or at least the start of Korn and Billy Corgan, then you're definitely like
It's the diehards.
one of us. Yeah, so it's cool.
Hell yeah. Well, this is your second tour in 2 years. I think was a headline tour last year.
Yeah, we did a few shows here.
Yeah, cool. So obviously taking in the different touring of like a festival versus like, you know, doing the solo shows, how do you kind of find the experience of doing an Australian festival?
Yeah, well, it's breakneck pace. I've never done it like this where you fly and then play and then fly and then play and then fly and then play. That's never done that. But it's fun. It's been hot, sweaty, rock and roll.
It's gross. I was in watching Alpha Wolf and Frank Turner before, and I'm just like, I'm struggling. Like I've
Yeah.
done these every year since they've been on. And
Is it usually this hot?
No.
Okay.
This is the hottest I think it's ever been.
Yeah.
I was looking at the thing before, and like obviously it's Celsius, but like they said, 36 degrees Celsius feels like 43, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. It feels hotter.
Yeah.
Which I think is about 110.
Yeah, it's
thereabouts. But no, yeah. So obviously, yeah, festivals here are pretty hectic when it comes to these types of ones where they happen every weekend. Something I am curious about, obviously, is that you've got 4 albums. You've got there's 3 that I want to talk about specifically. So the first one I want to talk about is MCID.
Okay.
So that is actually the name of your fan base, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So run us through how that name came about.
So we grew up together on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and then we eventually moved to New York to take ourselves more seriously and just be closer to more original bands and start writing. And when we left our hometown, I was at a pool party, and I put "My Crew is Dope" across my knuckles, and then it just became like the hyphen for that is MCID. And it was just kind of our own thing. And then like our fans started catching on to it because I was wearing it on a hat, and then we just decided, hey, everybody can be MCID, you know what I mean? Like, join our crew. Like, it actually wound up being a pretty cool way to be a part of a family for a larger thing. I never saw that happening, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's cool. So obviously that album came out in 2019. You then went into the Midnight Demon Club, which was a bit of a pivot in terms of like sound and style and that kind of thing. How did that change come about? Like, how did those conversations happen? Did it just kind of start making music that was different? Or?
Yeah, the same way anything comes about in life. Like, I'm an ever-evolving human. So I think that, so we've got 5 albums that have been recorded on...
Sorry, 5.
All good. But I think the first 2 sounded very similar because we made them all from songs that we had written for many years and then recorded them all in this, like, pretty much 1 year apart, like right there. But then MCID was a couple years later. That was largely electronic based. And then a few years after that was Midnight Demon Club, and that was just more like a mixture of rock and electronic and kind of a larger scope of sound. And then this most recent one we've done, As Above So Below, is more of just like a stripped down blues rock type of thing. So I don't go into a studio with any preconceived notion of what I'm gonna make. It's just like what am I feeling at that time? You know, like I like everything. I like hip hop. I like classical. I like jazz. I like heavy metal. So blues, obviously. I just like making music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I never want to like make the same album over and over again. Like that wouldn't be fun. And you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because some people are going to be like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like what you sounded like 3 years ago. But then if you do sound like you sounded like 3 years ago, people are like, well, they just sound the same as they did 3 years. It doesn't matter. You can't like pander.
That's it. I was talking to guys from Loathe before, and it was one of those things, I guess, where like self-definition is probably the best definition.
Yeah.
You know, just make whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what's going to be correct.
People like it, they'll come.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, killer. Going back then, I guess, to like influences and stuff, where you're talking about you've got all these different influences. With the last couple of records, has there been anyone that you've kind of looked at and gone, oh, I like this, I'm going to kind of grab bits and pieces from here, or just whatever you're feeling at the time?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought the last album was going to be so much heavier than it was, because I was really feeling heavy music at that time. I was listening to a lot of Spirit Box and a lot of Knock Loose and just some heavier bands. And once we got in the studio, it wound up being like more of a blues album, just because that's what we were feeling when we were playing together, you know? Like, again, we're not going to hold ourselves to any trend or any standard, or just going to make what feels right in that moment, and yeah.
Yeah, cool. We had one of our guys actually catch you guys down. I think it was in Melbourne, and said the show was unreal. He loved
right on.
it. So I'm really sad I'm not going to get to see you guys this time around. But fingers crossed I can catch you kind of on the next jump. Something I do want to talk about though, and this is something that's always fascinated me about your band, and I don't even know if it's something that you know about, in the sense that I go to a lot of shows just kind of doing what I'm doing, and I have been to Post Malone shows, I have been to Dayseeker, I've been to Iron Maiden, I've been to all these insane bands, guaranteed to be at least half a dozen Highly Suspect shirts.
Really?
Yeah. How do you feel that the appeal of the fan base, going to all these different gigs and like kind of coming from all these different walks of life to kind of fall in under, you know, the crew essentially?
Yeah.
Like, can you speak to that? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that's cool. I guess I think in today's day and age, people are less boxed in than when I was growing up. I mean, when I was growing up, if you liked punk and you got caught listening to hip hop, you were an outcast, right?
Excommunicado.
Yeah, and I think nowadays, especially with festivals and things like that, like it's basically people have a much broader palette, and you're able to like Billie Eilish and Post Malone and Gojira all in the same breath, and nobody's going to give you shit for it. So
yeah,
I guess it's not like fully surprising, but it's cool to hear that.
Yeah, I think the wildest like Highly Suspect show in the wild that I saw was Florence and the Machine.
Okay.
Did not expect it. I'm just walking around and I like see like half a dozen of them. I'm like,
You got to give people some credit, man. They got a wide palette.
No, it's killer though. Like it's cool. Like again, it just kind of speaks to that appeal to the band that, you know, like you said, fans don't get boxed in.
Yeah.
So, has there been any songs off the newer album, especially with it being kind of bluesy and a bit more stripped down, that you've been looking forward to playing?
Right now, I'm really enjoying playing "Run for Your Death," and I didn't expect that to hit so well live. But it's reacting, and it's so fun to play, and it's so fun to watch people kind of just go bonkers over it. But every one of these songs, for the first time, maybe ever, I enjoy playing every single one of them. Like if I would just do the album. We did just do an album tour, and it was like my favorite tour because we just played the album, and they're the most recent ones to me. So I really enjoy playing all of them.
No, that's cool.
That might change in a few years. I might be like, fuck that song, but right now I'm enjoying it. So.
Has there been any song in particular that you've been surprised has gravitated towards fans more?
Run for Your Death. Yeah.
Run for Your Death.
Yeah.
So that's the big one.
Yep.
Hell yeah. All right, cool. Well, I'm really pumped, so I can't wait for you guys to come back so I can catch you.
Yeah, next time.
I might even pop off corn and just come and see you guys for a little bit, because you are guys, again, with the appeal of the band and seeing the shirts everywhere, it's one of those things where it's like, I need to see it live.
Don't stress it. It's going to be us headlining one day. You mark those words.
Fingers crossed. One more question before I let you go. Has there been any bands that you guys have caught through the festival that you've been like kind of amped to see, or?
I haven't had a chance.
Nah.
Yeah, because yesterday was just like miserably muddy and super hot, and I'm at the end of a whole entire year of touring. Do you know what I mean? And the day before that, it was like pouring rain, so I haven't seen anybody. I'm just showing up, doing my job, and getting out.
Are these the last shows you're doing for the year?
For the year, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Good time to reset for Christmas and back into it in the new year.
I can't wait.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out.
Of course.
Appreciate it, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.